So I've been talking about working in the round as opposed to rows, and there's lots of different ways to start with, and the elusive magic ring seems to scare people. So I've sort of come up with my own little version that seems to be a little easier. I'll show you the way I use the magic ring to make life a little bit easier. You need the tail end on your right and the running yarn on your left. You're going to leave, I like to leave a lot because there's nothing worse than the magic end tail slipping through, which can happen if you only leave a small amount of excess yarn. So we do a turn in the yarn, and then we slip like we do with the slip knot, and then we slip a bit of the end, the tail end, up through the middle of that little loop and pull tight like that. Now normally what happens is with the magic ring you have to make sure that the tail end is pulling the loop smaller, and then eventually goes to nothing. Now normally what we do is we work into the magic ring like this, going one, two. So I'm going to put my hook through that magic ring, which is not normally what you do, but I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so the magic ring is just a little bit bigger than a normal sort of hoop. And then I'm not going to use the tail, I'm going to use the running yarn to do the work. But before I do that, I'm going to put a stitch marker in that magic ring like this, which is also good because it gives you something to hold on to when you're doing your work. So there, I've just put that in there like that, and here's my running yarn on the left. So we put our hook in, the yarn in the magic ring, making sure that your running yarn is easily on the left, your end of your the tail end is on the right, stitch marker is in there. Now leaving a little bit of slack, what I want you to do is to do 1, 2 and 3. 2 or 3 works either way in there. Okay, I'll just lay it down so you can see where I've put it in. So it's gone into that third chain. There was the magic ring. Then it goes 1, 2, 3. Make sure you're using your running yarn. So what we do is we go in where that red stitch marker is, in here. And don't worry if it's loose because we can tighten it up later. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. The red stitch marker was in the middle of the magic circle or magic ring, whatever you want to call it. Just going to pull that bit out, and there's the tail. So what you do now, very carefully, put your hand on the work and just pull your tail. I'll see if I can show you without, you can see that that circle is getting smaller. Do you see that? Just in there where that red stitch marker is. Now leave the stitch marker in there for now, just in case. So what you were pulling should be at the back of the work. So make sure that when you go to join to the next part of your circle, you have that tail at the back. So it's tucked. There's the third chain that we finished with. So we're not actually going to go into there. We're going to go straight into the stitch after there, which is our first stitch. Okay, I'm going to go into there using the running yarn, and I'm going to do 1 and 2 single crochets. So now we're working in a spiral. I always tell my students to use a stitch marker to mark the very first stitch you did. Okay, so there it is. There's the second one and there's the first one. Mark it right in the top so you know where you started. Now for round 2, we did 6 in the first. I'm going to actually take that red stitch marker out because it's annoying me, and you probably don't need it now anyway. So we've done 2 and we've got 5 more to go, so we're going to end up with 12. So there's 2, there's the next stitch there, there's the last one we did. We go into here, we do 1 and 2, so that's 4. Yes, it's important to count, even I count. 5, especially when you're working in a spiral. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, if you started with 6 at the beginning, each round will increase by 6. If you started with 10, every round would increase by 10, and so on. So our first round was 6. Our second round is 12. So the third round will be, that's right, 18. Okay, so we're back to the first stitch. Now we did 2 in every one, which is 2 double crochets in every stitch. Now what we're going to do is do 2, which is increasing. Sometimes they call it a single crochet increase. I like to just call it what it is, 2 single crochets, 1 and 2 in the first stitch. And again, make sure you put your stitch marker in that first stitch that you did. So now that we're doing row 3, we need each little bundle to be in bundles of 3. So we've done 2 in one space, and then we're going to do 1. So that's the first lot of 3. And we're going to do that 6 times so that you've got 18 at the end. So there's the first lot of 3, 2, so we're increasing in the next one, 1, 2, and 3, and that's a single one in the next one, and that means we've got 6. So we've done 2 lots. The next 16, 17 and 18. And now we're back to our first stitch. Get rid of that tail. Okay. Before you pull it tight, reach into that space and pull out a bit of that wool or yarn like this, and pull that like that. Don't pull it the whole way, just pull it a little bit of the way, and then that will become the top of your octopus. It just saves you reaching in. And round 1 was 6, round 2 was 12, round 3 is 18, so round 4 is going to be another 6 spread around, which makes it 24. So this is how we do it. There's our next stitch, which was the first one in the last round. We do 1 and 2, and because we're in round 4, we need to have a cluster of 4 stitches. So you've got 1, 2, and then you're going to have 2 singles. Three and 4. And we're going to do that 6 times, so we end up with 24. So 1, 2 in the 1 stitch, and then 2 singles. 5, 6, and then 2 singles. 7, 8. Then 21 and 22 are in the same stitch. 23 and 24, and then we are back to the beginning again. Okay, now I'm actually going to pull this through now and tighten that center. Now we have to continue in that manner. We've done row 1, 2, 3 and 4. We have to do it until we get to 36 stitches. So if you divide that by 6, it's 6 rows, 6 rounds. So I've just done the 4th, and I'm going to do 2 more rounds. So that's 5 rounds that I've done. So I'm up to round 6, which is an important round to get right. So we're going to do 2 in the same stitch and then 4. So round 6, we want them in groups of 6. So 5 and 6. And continue that until we get back to the beginning, which will be 36 stitches. Okay, so now I've finished the increasing part of our octopus. So that's the top of the head is about that big, and now we're going to go just 36 stitches for each 6 rows. So row 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 will only have 36 stitches, and you'll see that your work starts to curl around a little bit. Okay, so what I like to do is I'm going to leave that marker there, and I'm just going to continue on. So that's 1. You might need a little piece of paper next to you to write down the rows that you've done, which is what I always do because it's better to be safe than sorry. 1, where are we? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 33, 34, 35, 36. Now, you'll be thinking, now hang on a minute, it's down here. But because we're working, you'll find that the first stitch sort of starts to move this way because we're not increasing. So we've done 1 round. Now, what you can do is you can either put another stitch marker in there, which I'll do for you to show you the pattern of what it looks like. But you know now that you've done round 7, and if you're not sure, then just write it down. Okay, because it is tricky to count the rows when they're spiraling. Okay, so now I'm up to round 8. One, put that out of the way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 35, 36. You'll see that it's just starting to curl a little bit underneath. You'll see it more as you progress through your 6 rows. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that yellow one out. So now we've done, that was row 7, 8, now I'm up to row 9. Again, I'm really concentrating to remember, so if I were you, I would write it down. There's our first stitch, which I'm going to mark. I just like to leave the red one there from the beginning so that you can count the rows as you go. And this one is more about remembering where the first stitch was. So now I'm up to round 9. 2, oops, that one's a bit loose. Okay, so we're going to continue on until we've finished row 12, doing 36 stitches all the way around, and it should be curling downwards quickly. And you're going to need some stuffing, and we're going to put in the safety eyes, and then we're going to continue on decreasing. So it's always a good idea to put the safety eyes in before you finish so that you get them nice and straight and in the right spot, uniform, so all your octopuses look the same. So I'm just working my way around. I'm not even counting now because I'm going to trust my stitch marker, and of course you stop 1 before the stitch marker, as we've seen. And you'll see that it's curling down beautifully. Try to keep your stitches nice and firm so that you don't see too much of the stuffing or that it doesn't come through. Another little tip is you can get your stuffing, and then if you've got enough yarn, wrap some yarn around the stuffing so that the outside layer of the stuffing is more like the yarn, and it will sort of hide the stuffing. But look, it's a pretty small stitch, so I just don't think you're going to see the stuffing. Make sure you get the right sort of stuffing. Don't get the little foam pieces. I want you to get the proper hypoallergenic stuffing. You've got to be very mindful of the fact that the kids will probably put it in their mouth if they're little tots, and you don't want anything you know, breaking off and you know, going into their mouth. Most of this stuff are all natural fibres anyway, so it's going to be fine. But and cotton doesn't fray as much as wool, which is why I like to use cotton for all my animals. Okay, so I've done that last round, and you can see now it's starting to create a sort of a hat shape. Okay, so I'm going to keep going until I've done 12 rows, and then I'll come back. Okay, so now I've done the up to row 12. I've finished row 12. Now there's where I started, and if you watch carefully, that was rows 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It sort of goes on a bit of an angle that way. The rest of his head, or head and body, sort of comes down a bit lower. It's not going to be round, it's going to be more of an oval shape. Right, so there's the first stitch. Now, just like we increased at the beginning, some patterns tell you different, but I like to do it this way. But the best way I've found is there's the first stitch and there's the second stitch. So we literally have to go from here to here. So the best way to do it is, rather than go in, what you do is you go, I'm just going to mark that third stitch so you can see where we're headed for. So if we're going from 36 to 30, we're going to have them in clusters of 5. Okay, so here we go. That's where we're going. So we've got to get rid of one of the stitches, and this is how you do it. You go in and then come back out, sort of like doing it around the post. Pull that through and then do your single crochet like that. I'll show you again. And then, so the next stitch will be here. I'll show you again. Right, so the first stitch should be here, second and third. So we want to join these first 2 stitches together, and we'll be doing that all the way around. So we go into where we normally would go in, but then we come back up this way, yarn over, pull it through behind the post like that, and do your single crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have to decrease again. So there's where we would be going in normally, and there's the second stitch. So we go in, back up, yarn over, pull it through, and that becomes number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay. Now, the next row, we don't decrease, we just do one row of 30. So I'm going to take this out just for a second. One. And you work all your way round. Okay, so I've just done the decrease from 36 to 30, and then I've done one row of just no decreasing. So I've got 30. Now this is where we're going to put in the safety eyes. So here's the beginning of my row, or I should say the end, actually, the end of the last row. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this together like that, just to get a roughly the center of one side, the opposite side. So let's say it's here. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly, but so what we do now is we get our safety eyes, and we'll go, it's up to you. I like them reasonably close to each other. I think they look cuter. So there's one. I'm going to go 1, 2, and I'm going to pop that in there. And then I'm going to put the backing on it this way. This is actually sort of hard to do, but just got to push down fairly firmly. Now, I don't push too firmly because you've still got to get into that stitch. Once you've got past that stitch, then you can push it in really hard. So I went 1, 2, so I'll do the same on this side. 1, 2, whoops, go the right way. Put the eye on the outside, put the backing. As I said, don't push it in too hard or you won't be able to get your hook in. Okay, alrighty. So you can see I haven't pushed them in all the way. I will in a minute. Take this out now. Okay, and that's where they're going to be. It looks like a good space. So now the next row we have to decrease from 30 to 24, which means each cluster, 24 divided by 6 is 4. So each group has to have 4. So we start with a decrease. We go into where we would normally go for 1, come up for 2, and that's 1. I'll just put my stitch marker there. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4. In where you would go, oops, sorry, that's the wrong one, here. So that's where I just did the last stitch. So you go in where you would normally go, then up, yarn over, pull it through behind that post. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 2 together, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Right, so now you can squeeze away, get them nice and tight so that they don't pop out. Okay, they shouldn't pop out, the space is very small, I doubt very much. And you can see that the safety, the flat side goes to the bottom and the rounded part goes up to the top towards the head. Okay, so that's pretty cute. All right, so now I've got down to 24. Now I need to do one more row of just 24 without decreasing. And we're going to keep going in that same manner of decreasing one row and then doing the same number for the next row until we end up with 12 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I'm just going to go around and do 24. That. And I will come back to you at the beginning of each row so that you can remember how to do it. So I've now done my row of just 24 single crochets. So now we go from 24 down to 18, which means 18 divided by 6 is 3. So we need little bundles of 3. So we go in where you would normally go in for the first stitch and then come up where you would go for the second stitch. Yarn over, pull it through. So that's 1. 2, 3. Next decrease, go into where you would go up second. That's 4, 5, 6, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, and now we're going to do one row of just single crochets of 18. So I've got to that last row with 18, and it's going to get quite small now because we're going to go down to 12. So I like to start stuffing now, similar, and it looks like this. Make sure you use good quality stuffing because it's worth it. You can use bits of material, that's fine too, but I like the proper stuffing, but it's totally up to you. Now the stuffing might get in the way a little bit, but just use your fingers to keep it out of the way. So we've got to drop down from 18 to 12, which means it's going to be a decrease and then a single. So I'll just put that there. So we'll start with the decrease like we do. Keep your fingers behind the work so it doesn't catch onto your stuffing. So we go in where we would normally go in for the next stitch, come up where the second stitch is, yarn over, pull it through. So that's 1, and I'll put my stitch marker in there. And then a single. That's 2. Again, decrease. That's 3. 4. 10. 11 and 12. So you should be back to your stitch marker. So 1. Put your stitch marker back in. Okay, now comes, it's a little bit fiddly, but you should be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the 12 to 8. So the first will be a decrease around that post like we've been doing. So that's 1. We need to do 8 tentacles. Now here's how we do them. I'd leave that marker in there. Now what you do is you do 50 chain. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. From the hook we're going to go into the second chain here. Now I like to do 4 single crochets, but it's up to you. You can, if you can't manage 4, then do 3, and if you can't manage 3, do 2, but the more you do, the curlier they look. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I know it's going to look weird and it's going to try to twist, and that's the whole idea. Now just the most important part is to keep your chains even and straight, and I always say look for that little V at the front, or little Pac-Man as I call it. Looks like a sort of a Pac-Man shape. So you go right into the next one. There's where I was working, so the next one is here, and we do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And yes, you are going to be doing a lot of single crochets for your octopus. Move on to the next chain and do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep working your way up. And this part is going to take you longer than the whole head took you. And that's okay, because you'll love it when it's finished. That's 2, that's 3 and 4. Don't worry about the big holes that you can see, because they're all going to get twist it up into the tentacle. Okay, next one, I'll just do a few more to show you, and then the magic of movies, I will move ahead to the top. That's 2 and 3 and 4. One more. Keep that V, that Pac-Man straight. There. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's already starting to curl. See that? Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I'm nearly at the end. I'll just finish this up and then I'll show you how to fix it. So see how my chains are facing me? We do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So here's where we went in here. So the next one will be here. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we very carefully go to the very next stitch. So yeah, you can see it's pulling there. So you put it in like that, and you just do a slip stitch, and then you do your 50 chains. Now, to get this tentacle looking right, you grab the bottom, grab the top, and turn it in a clockwise direction. Now, sometimes if you find your work's been a bit loose and it's just hanging not very well, which it should be right. I mean, the more you twist it, the better it is. So you can see there I need to twist it. You can run a thread right through the middle and knot it at the end. So start from one end, from the body end, and run it through with a darning needle, and then just tie a knot at the end. So you're actually going right through the middle of each little round bit there, and that'll hold it together a bit better. And there you go. And there's, I don't know if you can see that, I hope you can. There's the first tentacle. So if I just put our little Ollie the octopus down like that, that's what he's going to look like, but he's going to have 8 tentacles. So once you've passed the, you've finished all the legs and you've passed that thread up through the body, you should have that little bit that you had left over on the top and the piece that you've just passed through. So then we do what we call a chainless foundation. So we go under, over, and through. Make a V with the 2 pieces. Make sure you keep the top separate from the bottom. We go yarn under, yarn over. It is a bit fiddly when we first start, but then it gets easier. Pull it through there. Yarn under, yarn over, pull it through. Yarn under, yarn over, pull it through. The bottom, yarn under, the top, yarn over, pull it through, slip stitch, and that's it. Okay, so you've got a little loop at the top.